Hello Leo, my name is Keith Haswell and I'm a professional astrologer with 40 years experience in the business and also 30,000 clients worldwide, 145 YouTube videos up there and more than 1/3 viewings now of those videos. It's my pleasure to welcome you, Leo, to this particular video on your moon phases for January 2015. Leo, you are a damn good leader. You've got a tremendous sense of consciousness about you. It's like the lion sitting there on the top of the hill watching every single movement of all the flock down there, all the deer and antelope and so forth, and just sitting there and not appearing to be interested but taking everything in. And that's what you're like, Leo. You're tremendously aware. You've asked yourself many times, why am I so awake, aware and alive as to what's going on around me when everybody else seems to be half asleep? Now your faults are pride and arrogance, but you've got a lot to be prideful about because you've got tremendous leadership qualities. So you're a born leader and you've got a very sunny disposition about you. What I'm going to do for you on this particular video, Leo, is to help you to understand more about yourself so that you can work your way through 2015 with a lot more organisation and planning ability and so forth. And I'm going to look particularly on this video at the moon phases for January 2015. Everything I do for you on my videos, Leo, is designed to help you to expand your understanding and to become more of who you really are. Now the moon moves very fast, Leo. The moon moves very fast. Only 2.5 days it takes to go through a particular sign and therefore a particular house of your horoscope. So it only takes 30 days to go through all of the 12 houses of your horoscope. And that's not the important thing. The thing that is to do with the moon phases, Leo, is its relationship to the sun. That's very, very important because that creates phases called the new moon, and that's when the moon is in conjunction with the sun. And that represents an opportunity for you for 2 weeks until the full moon to commence and start new projects and ideas. And that new moon falls in a different house in your horoscope than it does for an Aries or a Taurus or a Gemini or a Cancer, for example. So it's an individual thing for you to be able to take advantage of. And I'll tell you when those new moons happen, and also the full moon. The full moon is a time when it's not good for the 2 weeks after the full moon to commence and start new projects. It's a time to consolidate things to do with the house that falls in and also the house that the new moon fell in. So you just sit back and relax now, Leo, and we'll have some fun together, eh? The moon is what's known, Leo, as a fecundating agent. In other words, it's something that brings forth life. So the phases of the moon are the thing that determine when the seed breaks open under the ground, and in that 2 weeks there it shoots up out of the ground and it starts to grow as a plant. And it's the same with you and all of us in the human kingdom. It's the fecundating agent as far as our emotions are concerned. And we can use our imagination to our own advantage in that new moon period for 2 weeks. Now, the last new moon happened on the 22nd of December in your horoscope, and it happened in the 6th house of your horoscope. So that was a time for you to be able to commence and start new projects that are connected with the 6th house from the 22nd of December 2014 to the 4th of January when we have the full moon. Now, in that 2-week period, Leo, you've got an opportunity to commence and start projects and ideas that are to do with the 6th house of your horoscope. The 6th house is the house of the job, employment, fellow workers and co-workers, and it's to do with health and dietary matters. So it's a good time for you in that 2-week period to commence and start new projects connected with your job, to change jobs, in other words, if you wanted to, and to start new diets and exercise rituals and routines and so forth. And then on the 4th of January, Leo, the full moon happens, and it happens in 14 degrees Cancer, which is in your 12th house. So that's a message for you to consolidate the things that you've gained from your 6th house activities, but also it's a message to you to do with the 12th house. The 12th house is the house of introspection and reflection, solitude, and aspiration toward the divine. So from the 4th of January onwards, it's a good opportunity for you to consolidate changes that you've brought about within yourself through solitude and through aspiration towards something higher than yourself. Now then on the 20th of January we have another new moon phase, and that's much more important than the full moon phase, Leo. And that happens in 0 degrees Aquarius, which is in your 7th house. Now that's a message to you to do with matters relating to your 7th house. And the 7th house is the house of partnerships and relationships like spouse, and also to do with the general public, legal matters. And there's a message there for you to be able to commence and start projects and ideas that are to do with joint activities with your partner or spouse if you have one, and also to do with legal matters and dealings with the general public and things like that. So it's a very good time for you over the 2-week period from the 20th of January, Leo, to commence and start new projects together with a partner, or to commence and start a new relationship, or to strengthen an existing relationship over the following 2 weeks from the 20th of January. Now what I also want to do for you, Leo, is I want to look at the movements of Jupiter, because Jupiter is very, very important in the month of January because it goes retrograde. You've had Jupiter at 23 degrees Leo in the month of January, and it's sitting in your 1st house of your horoscope. Now it's been there for about 9 months. So you've already felt the impact of Jupiter being in your 1st house for the last 9 months, Leo. In other words, you've been for a journey, a distant journey perhaps in the last 9 months. Now you must remember that this is only a generality here, because I don't know your age, I don't have your horoscope chart in front of me and that sort of thing. So therefore, things that I say to you may be different for you than it is for an 18-year-old person if you're a 65-year-old person, right? But nevertheless, Jupiter has been sitting in your 1st house for the last 9 months. So that means that in the last 9 months, Leo, you've had a tremendous urge to expand yourself to new horizons. Through study, research and investigation. You've done a lot of study, research and investigation, whether it's on the internet or whether it's through books and so forth. You've had a tremendous urge to expand yourself to new horizons, and that can quite often mean a journey, a distant journey overseas perhaps, sometime in that period. So that expands your understanding, expands your consciousness, because you see different civilizations and cultures when you travel overseas. Anyway, it's been a very expansive time for you, but Jupiter goes retrograde in the month of January, Leo. And when Jupiter goes retrograde, it means that you can have bad judgment to do with things to do with the house that it's sitting in. And it's sitting in your 1st house. So therefore, in the month of January, you've got to perk up and take notice of the message that your higher self wants to deliver to you about decisions and choices that you might make in terms of starting and commencing projects and ideas that are not in your own best interests or that are based on bad judgment. So you've got to be very careful of your judgment when Jupiter is retrograde in the month of January, okay? Now also, when Jupiter is retrograde, it also impacts negatively upon 2 other houses of your horoscope, and these are different houses in your life than what they are in the lives of an Aries or a Taurus or a Gemini or a Cancer, for example. So it's an individual message to you, Leo, about what's happening in your life. And Jupiter is retrograde, so therefore it impacts upon the houses that Jupiter rules. And in your case, it's the 5th house and the 8th house. So 5th house is to do with children. So decisions and choices that you make to do with children can be in error. You can have bad judgment to do with decisions and choices relating to children. If you don't have any children in your life, it can be bad decisions and choices to do with romance and love and the social side of life. So you could form a relationship or get involved in a romance or something that's not well thought out, that has a degree of secrecy or deception surrounding it, for example, not in your own best interest, therefore. So things like that, Leo, is what happens when Jupiter is retrograde. And so you've got to perk up and listen there is about what your higher self wants you to hear from this particular message. Now, it also impacts upon the 8th house of your horoscope, which is the house of change, inner change. Now, you perhaps will have bad judgment to do with the sexual side of your nature, and addictive patterns of behaviour that you want to rise above and get rid of will perhaps hang on there, and you'll slip back into old habit patterns and things like that. So there's those changes there that you're not really bringing about, and you're having bad judgment about slipping back into habit patterns, putting masks on, in other words, that you've really outgrown. And it's also the 8th house is the house of joint finances. So if you have a partner in your life, then there can be bad judgment on the part of your partner or jointly together about decisions and choices about your joint finances. So you've got to watch your motivations very carefully to do with the decisions and choices that you make to do with money and joint finances. And that is some message there that your higher self wanted you to hear. Now also I want to look at the movement of Saturn for you, Leo, because Saturn is a very slow moving body, and Saturn is sitting in 29 degrees Scorpio at the moment. Now that means that it's been sitting in your 4th house of your horoscope for the last 2.5 years. So you've already felt the impact of this, Leo, in your life with Saturn sitting in the 4th house of your horoscope. So you have had the sickness or death of a parent perhaps in that last 2.5 years. You've had perhaps a lot of frustrations and difficulties to do with family matters. And the family unit has had problems there. So members of the family have had problems there, and depressions and worries and fears and anxieties and so forth. And also Saturn sitting in the 4th house is bringing detrimental things there to do with domestic and family matters and property matters. So you've noticed over the last 2.5 years that there's been delays with regard to changes of residence, and there's been frustrations with regard to things that you've been waiting to come to a conclusion. So that gives you an idea there, Leo, of some of the impacts that you're experiencing in your life from the movements of the planets through January 2015. Now it's about to move into a different sign and therefore a different house of your horoscope, and I'll give you more detail on that when I do your moon phases for February, okay? Now all of us, Leo, are charged with the task of bringing about change within ourselves. The only thing that's constant in the universe, Leo, is change. And that change generally comes through the avenue of necessity. In other words, we need to make those changes in order for our life to function. And it also comes, change also comes, Leo, through the avenue of pain and fear. Now, we do need pain. And we do need fear. They are vital things in our life. Fear keeps us on the straight and narrow, and pain also is a very, very good agent for change. So I'm not talking about eliminating fear, and I'm not talking about eliminating pain. But change doesn't have to come through the avenue of fear and pain. it can come through the avenue of gratitude. Gratitude for the gifts that all of us have been given to create all of the events and conditions of our life consciously, more so than subconsciously, as most of us are doing now. And I'll talk more about that to you if you come to my website and get some CDs there. I've got an opportunity now to offer you to go to my website. The website address will pop up on the screen shortly, so you can write that down and go to my website, and there's 12 CDs there out of my first book, What Really Matters. That's a book on astrology, meditation and reincarnation, and that book is on 12 CDs audio with my voice, with beautiful backing music, and I take you in and out of meditation time and time again in each of those CDs. And your higher self has brought you to this particular video, Leo, because it reckons that you are ready for change now that you weren't ready to make even a month ago. So it reckons now that you're ready to make changes inside of yourself, and it perhaps wants you to listen to that particular free CD. So you can go to my website, download that free CD and listen to that, and if you think that that's a message that's worthwhile, well then download CD number 2 and listen to that. And if it doesn't mean anything to you, the first one, put it off for 6 months or 12 months and come back and have a look again. But that's a gift from me to you, an answer to the call from your higher self for change that it feels that you're ready to make, okay? Now also, what I do sometimes through my website is I actually do what's called a free horoscope number 1. Now I can't always guarantee that this free horoscope number 1 is going to be available all the time, because when I offer it, I'm inundated with orders for this free horoscope number 1. And I've had 40 orders in one day, so it means that I've got to do 40 horoscope charts in one day, because this is all based on your personal horoscope chart, not a generality for other Leos and not a generality for those with the rising sign in Leo. It's something to do with your horoscope individually. So what it is I do your chart, and then I tell you on a 7-page printout all about you as far as individual things in your horoscope is concerned. For example, the moon, which rules your emotions, Leo. And the moon, I tell you whether it's what sign it's sitting in and what house it's sitting in, and that has an impact upon you about what plan that your higher self has for you for this particular lifetime. Mercury rules your mind, and there's something there to tell you about the sign that it sits in and the house that it sits in, Leo. And so that's all part of that report as well. Venus rules your love nature, and that by sign and by house has a message to you about your makeup and what you're experiencing in this particular lifetime. And Mars also, I tell you what house and what sign that it's sitting in and what sort of impact that has upon you. So there you go, there's an opportunity now. I can't always guarantee that that's going to be available from my website, but go there, have a look, see if it's available. If not, download the first CD anyway and listen to that and see what you think about that. And subscribe to my videos, because I'm pumping out videos all the time. I'll probably do 150 odd videos in 2015. So if you subscribe to them, you get all of them. They're all on all aspects of personal and spiritual growth. I think that's about all that I wanted to communicate to you, Leo. So it's nice to have this opportunity to be able to talk with you. And if you go to my website and download those free CDs, and you go on all the way through the 12 CDs, then there's deeper CDs that are available to you on the deeper aspects of personal and spiritual growth. So it's nice to have this opportunity to talk with you. I thank you for your attentiveness and look forward to working further with you. If not, anyway, I wish you all the best and look forward to working further with you should you decide to go further. Thank you.